Greetings in the name of Christ. It looks like I've got my days and dates mixed up a little bit this week. When I went back and looked at the videos, today is the 31st of December, and it is a Thursday, and a day when we are getting ready to usher in the new year. We continue in Christmastide, and so I have been reading some authors who talk to us about this special time of year when we celebrate the birth of Christ. And Philip Yancey has been our guide for the last couple of days. We're finishing his piece called The Visited Planet. Many of you have probably read some works by Philip Yancey. He's been talking about the kind of world that Christ entered, that it wasn't all peaceful and lovely by a long shot. So this is the end of his piece. Growing up, Jesus' sensibilities were affected most deeply by the poor, the powerless, the oppressed, in short, the underdogs. Today, theologians debate the aptness of the phrase, quote, God's preferential option for the poor, unquote, as a way of describing God's concern for the underdog. Since God arranged the circumstances in which to be born on planet Earth, without power or wealth, without rights, without justice, God's preferential options speak for themselves. There is one more view of Christmas I've never seen on a Christmas card, probably because no artist, not even William Blake, could do it justice. Revelation 12 pulls back the curtain to give us a glimpse of Christmas as it must have looked from somewhere far beyond Andromeda. Christmas from the angel's viewpoint. The account differs radically from the birth stories in the Gospels. Revelation does not mention shepherds and an antiphysal king. Rather, it pictures a dragon leading a ferocious struggle in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun and wearing a crown of 12 stars cries out in pain as she is about to give birth. Suddenly, the enormous red dragon enters the picture, his tail sweeping a third of the stars out of the sky and flinging them to earth. He crouches hungrily before the woman, anxious to devour her child the moment it is born. At the last second, the infant is snatched away to safety. The woman flees into the desert, and all-out cosmic war begins. Revelation is a strange book by any measure, and readers must understand its style to make sense of this extraordinary spectacle. In daily life, two parallel histories occur simultaneously, one on earth and one in heaven. Revelation, however, views them together, allowing a quick look behind the scenes. On earth, a baby was born, a king caught wind of it, a chase ensued. In heaven, the great invasion had begun, a daring raid by the ruler of the forces of good into the universe's seat of evil. John Milton expressed this point of view majestically in Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, poems which make heaven and hell the central focus, and earth a mere battleground for their clashes. The modern author J.B. Phillips also attempted such a point of view on a much less epic scale, and last Christmas I turned to Phillips' fantasy to try to escape my earthbound viewpoint. In Phillips' version, a senior angel is showing a very young angel around the splendors of the universe. They view whirling galaxies and blazing suns, and then flit across the infinite distances of space until at last they enter one particular galaxy of 500 billion stars. As the two of them drew near to the star, which we call our sun, and to its circling planets, the senior angel pointed to a small and rather insignificant sphere turning very slowly on its axis. It looked as dull as a dirty tennis ball to the little angel, whose mind was filled with the size and glory of what he had seen. I want you to watch that one particularly, said the senior angel, pointing with her finger. Well, it looks very small and rather dirty to me, said the little angel. What's special about that one? When I read Philip's fantasy, Yancey says, I thought of the pictures beamed back to Earth from the Apollo astronauts, who described our planet as whole and round and beautiful and small, a blue, green, and tan globe suspended in space. Jim Lovell, reflecting on the scene later, said, it was just another body, really, about 4 times bigger than the moon. But it held all the hope and all the life and all the things that the crew of the Apollo 8 knew and loved. It was the most beautiful thing there was to see in all the heavens. That was the viewpoint of a human being. To the little angel, though, Earth did not seem so impressive. He listened in stunned belief as the senior angel told him that this planet, small and insignificant and not overly clean, was the renowned visited planet. Do you mean that our great and glorious prince went down in person to this fifth-rate little ball? Why should he do a thing like that? The little angel's face wrinkled in disgust. Do you mean to tell me, he said, that he stooped so low as to become one of those creeping, crawling creatures on that floating ball? I do, and I don't think he would like you to call them creeping, crawling creatures in that tone of voice. For strange as it may seem to us, he loves them. He went down to visit them, to lift them up, to become like him. The little angel looked blank. Such a thought was almost beyond his comprehension. It is almost beyond my comprehension, too, Yancey says, and yet I accept this notion is the key to understanding Christmas and is, in fact, the touchstone of my faith. As a Christian, I believe that we live in parallel worlds. One world consists of hills and lakes and barns and politicians and shepherds watching their flocks by night. The other consists of angels and sinister forces, and somewhere out there places called heaven and hell. One night in the cold, in the dark, among the wrinkled hills of Bethlehem, those two worlds came together at a dramatic point of intersection. God, who knows no before or after, entered time and space. God, who knows no boundaries, took on the shocking confines of a baby's skin, the ominous restraints of mortality. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation, an apostle would later write. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. But the few eyewitnesses on Christmas night saw none of that. They saw an infant struggling to work never before used lungs. Could it be true, this Bethlehem story of a creator descending to be born on one small planet? If so, it is a story like no other. Never again need we wonder whether what happens on this dirty little tennis ball of a planet matters to the rest of the universe. Little wonder a choir of angels broke out in spontaneous song, disturbing not only a few shepherds, but the entire universe. Yes, the angel host breaking out to the shepherds also broke out everywhere. And the more we learn about quantum physics, quantum science, and the quantum principle of things, the more this makes sense. It is a little mind-boggling, I have to say that. Probably a little like that angel trying to learn his way in the universe. Let's pray the prayer our Christ taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Well, Happy New Year as this night turns into 2021. I hope you celebrate in good style. I think it's going to be pretty quiet in our household. But all of that is in tandem with angels singing throughout the universe about the birth of Christ.